An area of computerization which is growing rapidly is remote access. Remote access allows us to connect to our office workstation via a very secured connection on the internet. QuickBooks offers a remote service to do just this. The QuickBooks Remote service is only available in the Premier, Accountant, or Enterprise Edition. There are, however, add-ons available for the Pro Edition, and it is definitely worth considering. I would like you to keep in mind that data is transmitted using industry security standards. Heavy levels of encryption are utilized, so it's perfectly secure and safe. With QuickBooks comes access to a one-user license completely free of charge. Now this access is just for your QuickBooks file and does not include the rest of your computer. Let's talk about a number of options that are available for accessing our data from the internet. At first, on a Windows machine, we always have the opportunity to hook up with a remote desktop connection. Another aspect that's extraordinarily popular is what we call a VPN for Virtual Private Network. These connections are through Windows software and will allow you access to your machine, including your QuickBooks software. Another option is third-party solutions. Third-party solutions include programs such as GoToMyPC, LogMeIn, and here's where the QuickBooks Remote Access would fall in also. Each of these programs give us a secure connection to our computer and allow us access to QuickBooks files. Now, QuickBooks Remote Access can be upgraded to include access to all of the programs that are on your machine. Whichever solution you use, they're all very easy to work with. Again, keep in mind that whether it's through QuickBooks or through one of the other third-party solutions, that the data is transmitted using encryption, so it's safe. Adding to security is the fact that each of these will allow for two-factor authentication. You will need to log into your remote PC with a login and password, followed up by an access code for even stronger security. Afterwards, if going into QuickBooks, you'll then be asked for your normal username and password. Now, another option when working remotely is a service that QuickBooks is calling Online QuickBooks. I'm going to toggle over to the internet and show you an example. We are now looking at the QuickBooks Online Edition. You'll notice that it is slightly different from a regular QuickBooks program. This is where it differs from remote access. Remote access would be just like using your exact QuickBooks program. Matter of fact, you are. You're actually accessing it through one of your machines in the office. QuickBooks Online, however, is any internet connection and is a completely separate program. There are some limitations. First, you'll notice the layout is completely different. I have limitations in each areas, and you'll notice even the menu system, such as the vendors, is quite a bit different. If I go into the vendor overview, although it gives us many of the same activities, each activity is just a little lighter. For instance, if you do a lot of tracking of inventory, you may not want to work with the Online Edition. Another area that doesn't give us as much detail is in the payroll section. However, if you have multiple locations or it's necessary to access your books while you're traveling, if you're on an outside location, perhaps you telecommute with a number of other colleagues in the office and you'd like to have access to QuickBooks, this is a possible solution. In this particular case, if I do want to track my expenses, you'll notice that the top vendor-related questions come up right away to lead us to our help menu. If I'd like to go into an unpaid bills report, it's right here. And if I'd like to go into my AP register or print checks, I can see each of them here also. You'll also notice that there's just a very mini home page in the corner. Here, I can quickly go to my checks and the check screen comes up. Once again, you'll notice it's a little bit different than working with a full-fledged copy of QuickBooks. The register is on the bottom of the screen. The full-fledged check is on the top. Now, though it is possible to download a current copy of your books, again, do keep in mind there are limitations. If you are a professional where your services tend to be for just a couple of build-out items, or If you're setting up a second copy of QuickBooks for another company that you've undertaken that's still in the startup stages, this could be a perfect solution. Whichever method that you choose, I'd like you to keep in mind that there are a number of ways that we can now work remotely with QuickBooks. It's an area that's worth pursuing from either a remote standpoint or an online service.